Hey guys, this is Miss Bridget from Pig Fair, back with part 7 of Fablehaven. Let's do a recap real quick so we remember what we read last time. In our last reading section, we read that Kendra and Seth discovered that the insects on their grandparents' land are attracted to mirrors for some reason. They saw that there were tons of butterflies and dragonflies attracted to this mirror that Kendra took outside whenever they went swimming. And then afterwards, they came inside and they went up to their room in their grandpa's attic. And Seth decided that he was going to go out into the forest. And if you remember, going out into the forest is one of two rules that their grandpa has for them. He says, don't go out in the forest and don't go in the barn. And their grandpa said that if they break those rules, they're going to lose their outdoor privileges. So we'll see what Seth does outside in the forest, hopefully, and then we'll also see what Kendra's going to do inside the house while Seth is gone. So let's get started. For those of you who want to read along, we are starting on page 26 of the book. Seth walked out the door. She heard him tromp down the stairs. Kendra crossed the nightstand. The handheld mirror rested on it beside the ring with the 3 tiny keys. She'd spent a long time the night before trying to find what the keys fit. The biggest key opened a jewelry box on the dresser that was full of costume jewelry. Fake diamond necklaces, pearl earrings, emerald pendants, sapphire rings, and ruby bracelets. She had not yet discovered what the other 2 keys opened. She picked up the keys. They were all small. The smallest was no longer than a thumbtack. Where could she find a minuscule keyhole? The night before, she had spent most of her time on drawers and toy chests. Alright guys, so grab a snack, cozy up. Sparta's right here. He's ready to go for the next part of the story. Let's get started. So for those of you who want to read along, we are starting off on page 26, and hopefully we'll finish this chapter today. Seth walked out the door. She heard him tromp down the stairs. Kendra crossed to the nightstand. The handheld mirror rested on it beside the ring with the 3 tiny keys. She spent a long time the night before trying to find what the keys fit. The biggest key opened a jewelry box on the dresser that was full of costume jewelry, fake diamond necklaces, pearl earrings, emerald pendants, sapphire rings, and ruby bracelets. She had not yet discovered what the other 2 opened. She picked up the keys. They were all small, but the smallest was no longer than a thumbtack. Where could she find such a minuscule keyhole? The night before, she'd spent most of her time on drawers and toy chests. Some of the drawers had keyholes, but they were already unlocked, and the keys did not fit. Same with the toy chest. The Victorian dollhouse caught her attention. What better place to find tiny keyholes than inside a little house? She unlatched the clasps and opened it, revealing 2 floors and several rooms full of miniature furniture. 5 doll people lived in the house: a father, a mother, a son, a daughter, and a baby. The detail was extraordinary. The beds had quilts, blankets, sheets, and pillows. The couches had removable cushions. The knobs in the bathtub really turned, and closets had clothes hanging inside. The armoire in the dollhouse's master bedroom made Kendra suspicious. It had disproportionately large keyhole in the center. Kendra inserted the tiniest key and turned it. The doors of the armoire sprung open. Inside was something wrapped in gold foil. Opening it, she saw it was a piece of chocolate shaped like a rosebud. Behind the chocolate, she found a small golden key. She added it to her keyring. The golden key was larger than the key that opened the armoire, but smaller than the key that opened the jewelry box. Kendra took a bite of the chocolate rosebud. It was soft and melted in her mouth. It was the richest, creamiest chocolate she had ever tasted. She finished it in 3 more bites, savoring each mouthful. Kendra continued scouring the tiny house, investigating every piece of furniture, searching every closet, checking behind every miniature painting on the walls. Finding no more keyholes, she closed the dollhouse and fastened the clasps. Scanning the room, Kendra tried to decide where to look next. 1 key left, maybe 2 of the golden key also opened something. She had been through most of the items in the toy chest, but she could always double check. And she had searched through the drawers and the nightstands, dressers, and wardrobes thoroughly, as well as the knickknacks on the bookshelves. There could be keyholes in unlikely places, like under the clothes of a doll or behind a bedpost. Kendra ended up beside the telescope. Improbable as it seemed, she checked it for keyholes anyways. Nothing. Maybe she could use the telescope to locate Seth. Opening the window, she noticed Dale walking along the lawn at the outskirts of the woods. He was carrying something in both hands, but his back was to her, impeding a view of what he held. He stooped and set it down behind a low hedge, which continued to prevent her from seeing the object. Dale walked off at a brisk pace, glancing around as if to ensure nobody was spying, and soon passed out of view. Curious, Kendra rushed downstairs and out the back door. Dale was nowhere in sight. She trotted across the lawn to the low hedge beneath the attic window. Grass continued for about 6 feet beyond the hedge before stopping abruptly at the perimeter of the forest. On the grass behind the hedge rested a large pie tin full of milk. An iridescent hummingbird hung suspended over the pie tin, wings a faint blur. Several butterflies flitted around the hummingbird. Occasionally, one would descend and splash in the milk. The hummingbird flew away, and a dragonfly approached. It was a smaller crowd than the mirror had attracted, but there was much more activity than Kendra would have expected around a small pool of milk. She watched as a variety of tiny winged animals came and went, feeding from the pie tin. Did butterflies drink milk? Did dragonflies? Apparently so. It was not long before the level of milk in the pie tin had markedly fallen. Kendra looked up at the attic. It had only 2 windows, both facing the same side of the house. She visualized the room behind those gabled windows and suddenly realized that the playroom consumed only half of the space the attic should fill. Abandoning the tin of milk, she walked around the opposite side of the house. On the far side was a second pair of attic windows. She was right. There was another half to the attic, but she knew of no other stairway granting access to the uppermost story, which meant that there might be some sort of secret passage in the playroom. Maybe the final key unlocked it. Just as she decided to return to the attic and search for a hidden door, Kendra noticed Dale coming from the direction of the barn with another pie tin. She hurried toward him. When he saw her coming, he looked temporarily uncomfortable, but then put a big smile on. "What are you doing?" Kendra asked. "Just taking some milk to the house," he replied, changing direction a little bit. He had been heading toward the woods before. "Really? Why'd you leave the other milk behind the hedge?" "Other milk?" He could not have looked more guilty. "Yeah, the butterflies were drinking it." Dale was no longer walking. He regarded Kendra shrewdly. "Can you keep a secret?" "Sure." Dale looked around as if someone might be watching. "We have a few milking cows. They make plenty of milk, so I put some of the excess for the insects. It keeps the garden lively." "Why is that a secret?" "I'm not sure your grandfather would approve. Never asked permission, though. He might consider it wasteful." "Seems like a good idea to me. I noticed all the different kinds of butterflies in your garden. More than I've ever seen, plus all the hummingbirds." He nodded. "I like it. It adds to the atmosphere." "So you weren't taking that milk to the house?" No. This milk hasn't been pasteurized. It's full of bacteria. You could catch all sorts of diseases. It's not fit for people. Insects, on the other hand, they seem to like it best this way. You won't spoil my secret?" "I'll keep quiet." "Good girl," he said, with a conspiratorial wink. "Where are you putting that one?" "Over there." He jerked his head toward the woods. "I set a few in the border of the yard every day." "Does it spoil?" "I don't leave it out long enough. Some days the insects consume all the milk before I collect the pans. Thirsty critters." "See you later, Dale." "You seen your brother hereabout?" "I think he's inside the house." "That's so." She shrugged. "Maybe." Kendra turned and started toward the house. She glanced back as she mounted the stairs to the rear porch. Dale was placing the milk behind a small round bush. And that's the end of chapter 2. So next time we will begin with chapter 3, the Ivy Shack. And Seth is still out in the forest and we don't know what he's doing out there. So hopefully we'll find out next time. Bye guys.